It's time for the Ruffin Wrestling Show. Here's your host, Michael Ruffin.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ruffin Wrestling Show, coming at you Monday afternoon, the day after WWE Money in the Bank. I actually recorded this last night, and when I went to play it back and test out the audio, it all sounded very robotic and very mechanical, and I was trying to figure out what in the hell was going on, and I figured out what it was. I record the show on a Yeti Blue microphone, really good quality microphone. If you're out there, if you're thinking about doing podcasting or an online radio show, look at a Yeti Blue. They're about $100, but they're the greatest microphones you can get your hands on. They're fantastic. Well, I had it hooked into my computer, but I didn't have the microphone set in Audacity, which is what I record the show in. I didn't have it set to the Yeti, so it was recording off the external microphone or the internal microphone on the laptop. So everything sounded very mechanical, like I was inside of a tin can, and I didn't like the way it sounded. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to bed. It was really late. It was like midnight, 12:15, and I was like, look, it's late. I'm just gonna do it tomorrow. And sadly, the show last night was really kind of miscombobulated because I was so jacked up and so marked out, because it is a great day to be a wrestling fan, because the lunatic fringe Dean Ambrose is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I'm sorry, if that doesn't excite you, to quote the very wise puppet, wrestling might not be for you. So, we're going to talk about Money in the Bank today. We might just address a few rumors. One recently out there, actually we'll go ahead and get it out of the way, is that apparently, well, out there right now, is that last night, Paige and Alberto Del Rio were arrested for a domestic violence incident outside the arena. From what I can tell, this is nothing but a Total Divas storyline, which is what I think their entire relationship is anyway. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not. But from what I can tell, it's also total speculation. Paige, I don't think, was arrested. Her mom got on Twitter and said that the rumors aren't true. So, well, I guess more will come out on that as we can. Or as the day goes on. I don't know. Who gives a crap, really? I mean, so what? If they were, domestic violence, if they got into a little scuffle, they were probably just given citations and sent on their way. But there's pictures of Paige being put into the back of a sheriff's department paddy wagon, not even a car. She's put into a paddy wagon. So that made me think it was possibly a DUI, because it looked like it was one of those DUI mobile trucks. So that's what I thought it might have been, but it looks like it's all a work for Total Divas. At least that's what I think. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Money in the Bank. So let's get to that, and let's start with the pre-show. First off, your pre-show panel was Renee Young, Booker T, Lita, and Corey Graves. Jerry Lawler missing for obvious reasons. If you haven't heard, he was arrested with his girlfriend for domestic violence. That one was real. They have been released, but he was not at Money in the Bank last night. I don't know what this means for Lawler. Maybe he'll finally hang it up. He's pretty much demoted himself to part-time anyway, just doing SmackDown and pre-show panels. So maybe he'll just finally hang it up. I will miss Lawler, but maybe it's time. Maybe it's time he hangs it up. Another noticeable thing about the pre-show panel is that Corey Graves was very hungover. He looked weird. He was wearing a stupid-looking fedora hat, and he just didn't look like himself. He was really slurring his words, and he looked like he was either still drunk or still hungover. So hopefully nothing comes out of that, because I love Corey Graves. I think Corey Graves is fantastic. So hopefully nothing comes out of that, and it was just kind of a one thing. You embarrass yourself a little bit on the network, and then, we just kind of let it go. Our first match on the pre-show, there was a video package where now they're being called Brizongo, and I think that's because, or Brizdongo, I don't know, Brizongo, but they were called Febreze, and I wonder if WWE maybe got a letter saying you can't call your team that. It's a trademark, so they changed it. They're now known as Breezango. I liked Febreze, but whatever. It showed them getting into a tanning bed together, one of those stand-up tanning beds together. So first off, you have two talent stripping naked, admiring that they don't have tan lines, and then they get into a tanning bed together. I don't know if they're trying to play up a kind of homosexual relationship between the two of them or what's going on, but they get into a tanning bed, and then the team Golden Truth comes up and adjusts the intensity, something that I'm fairly certain you cannot actually do on a tanning bed. You can just change the time. You can't make it stronger or weaker. But for story's sake, they adjusted the intensity. So when it came time for their match, Breezango came out badly sunburned with really bad makeup. They were darkened out and made to look red. They had these fake looking latex makeup blisters and skin peelings all over them, and they looked like something from a really bad scene, like Ed Wood movie, like with these burns. They looked ridiculous, and it made me automatically think holy shit, did somebody hire Vince Russo to write tonight? Like, what is this crap? This looked terrible. This was one of the worst comedic stuff I've seen WWE do in a while. And the match consisted of, thank God it was a short match. It consisted of Breezango not really being able to do anything, and Golden Truth kept kind of slapping and chopping away at their sunburn and at their skin peels, and eventually it ends with Goldust hitting the final cut and picking up the win. Golden Truth's first victory as a team, and part of me kind of hopes that this is the end of Breezango. Not that I don't like him as a team, but quite frankly, if they're going to do crap like that with Tyler Breeze, somebody that I actually like, I'd rather them send him back to NXT where he can flourish and really do a lot of good things. Second up on the pre-show, we had the Lucha Dragons versus the Dudley Boys, a match that had zero build to it at all and zero storyline set up before the match, and so it really just, after the first match, it really just looked like exactly what it was. Send out two teams that you have in the arena. I don't know, maybe the Usos weren't there, but you send out two teams that you have in the arena and tell them, hey, put on a good 10-12 minute match, and that's exactly what they did. They put on a great match, a lot of flippity dippity, a lot of vintage Dudley Boys stuff, but the Lucha Dragons pick up the victory with a Salida del Sol into a Swanton. They pick up the win. Now, I said on the Money in the Bank preview show that I thought this might be towards the end of the Lucha Dragons run, that they would possibly break them up, but after last night, they actually looked at their peak as a team. They looked really, really good. They looked like a team that could possibly put back into the tag team title picture. I know we have like 5 teams chasing those titles right now, so maybe not so much right now, but they looked really, really good as a team. That brought us to the main show, and we kicked off with the tag team title match. That's what kicked the show off. I mean, you usually want to kick your show off with a big match to start, and they started with the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. I thought this match was really great. The problem I thought there was, I think it was like 15 minutes almost of talking, of promo and entrances that just felt like it just dragged on and on and on. Yeah, it was Enzo versus Xavier Woods on the microphone, which is exciting, but it just dragged on and on and on and on and on. And it ended up actually causing for some things to actually get cut in time. Like the women's match got cut down in time, so they didn't have as much time to do what they needed to do because we had to make up for the fact that they talked for 14 minutes. Now, last night there was the issue of Money in the Bank was happening literally simultaneously as Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So I think a lot of this was them stalling for time, kind of like they did with WrestleMania 31, in that the sun doesn't go down in California till much, much later. When they started the show, the sun was pretty much, directly above the stadium. So they had to stall out and stretch things out as far as they could, because if they didn't, The Undertaker was going to be wrestling in the sun. And that just really doesn't work. So I felt that that's kind of what happened here last night with Money in the Bank, in that they just kind of kept stretching things out longer and longer. And that's why we got 15 minutes of promos and then a 15-minute match for the Tag Team Title Championship. This match was exciting. It was very... a lot of spots, a lot of stuff going on. It was very wacky and very intense, just all over the place stuff happening. There was a weird spot towards the end in the finish where Cass hit a big boot and booted himself and Gallows out of the ring. And it was very, and then everybody got back in and started hitting finishes on each other. And I don't know if somebody was out of place or if somebody was late or missed a spot or what happened, but there was a moment where, real quick, where everybody kind of had to stand there and kind of figure it out again. And it ended up with a weird finish where Gallows and Anderson hit I believe it was hit the Magic Killer. And then somehow New Day stole that pin and picked up the victory and retained the Tag Team Championships. It was really a very, very strange match. There was a scary spot where Big E does the spear through the ropes. He's going to do that one time and he's going to get hurt. He's going to hurt his neck. It's going to happen. It's a matter of time before that happens. But New Day retains the Tag Team Championships in what was a weird match, I will say. It was a weird match. I think there was too much going on. It was just too busy with 4 teams happening, and there was a lot of times where tags that should have counted as tags didn't. There was a moment where I think it was Aiden English reached in under the ropes or under the middle rope and or under the top rope, and smacked Cass on the back, and that counted as a pin. But then later on, Big E tagged himself in on Gallows, and that didn't count. It was weird. I don't know if the ref got confused and thought we were in a tornado tag match, or I don't know what was going on. It was a weird match with some weird spots. But after that, we had Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler, a match that I don't think anyone in the arena or anyone watching cared about. It was the 6th meeting in this feud. The commentators even made the point of reminding us that this feud has been happening since the day after WrestleMania. That means this feud has been happening since the first week of April. So there you go. That's how long this feud has been stretched out, and essentially it's been the only person that Baron Corbin has wrestled on TV outside of Main Event or maybe Superstars. The match itself was boring. The crowd was chanting boring. There were dueling chants of "Let's go Ziggler" and "Ziggler sucks." If it did anything, it just made Dolph Ziggler look like somebody who can't work. There was a moment where it looked like Ziggler was going maybe too fast and kind of wrestling just his match, and then Baron Corbin would get control and slow it down too slow, and they can never find that medium happy pace and work together to make a great show. I felt like it was just Dolph Ziggler working his match, Baron Corbin was working his match, and it just eventually, thank God, it just ended with Baron Corbin hitting an end of days and picking up a victory, which is what I thought would happen. I thought that Baron Corbin would pick up the victory here at Money in the Bank, and he did. Well, what they do with it next is, I guess, where we get is the more important thing, and we just kind of see where they go with this. I liked seeing that Baron Corbin won. It's a chance for the new era to get a victory on a pay-per-view, and we'll just have to see what they go from there. Next up, we had Natalya and Becky Lynch versus Dana Brooke and Charlotte. Another match that I think that no one really cared about. I would rather have seen Charlotte defend her title last night, maybe even against Becky Lynch or something. I don't know, but I would have rather seen Charlotte defend her title rather than this. I've never really bought into the Dana Brooke and Charlotte team because Dana Brooke was put in when Emma got hurt. So Emma got hurt, and they had to replace her with something, so they replaced her with Dana Brooke, the girl who was following Emma around in NXT. I don't know if they felt that maybe Dana Brooke and Emma were on the same page, and she could bring that in, and she would kind of do with Charlotte, but she's kind of felt she's been put there kind of as the, hey, you'll do, and that's just kind of how it's worked out. They have never been on the same page. They've never been connecting. And I kind of didn't really get that vibe last night in the match. They kind of made it work out. But the match ended when Natalya had Charlotte in the sharpshooter, and Dana Brooke pushed Becky Lynch into Natalya, so she broke the hold. And then Charlotte recovered, hit Natalya with natural selection, and picked up the victory. But I guess the more important thing, if you really care about it, is after the match was over, Natalya turned heel, jumped on Becky, beat her down for a little while, and then that's where we ended that matchup, with Natalya ending as a heel. And maybe that means we'll get Natalya versus Becky Lynch at Battleground, so that we can build towards whoever Charlotte is going to take on for the title at SummerSlam. It's rumored it's going to be Sasha Banks. That would be awesome. I kind of am holding out that it would be that will be Bayley. That we'll get Bayley in the draft, and we'll kind of see where we go from there. But I think that's just, how that will go. Next, we have Sheamus and Apollo Crews, another match that just kind of felt thrown onto the card. The whole storyline of this is that Sheamus is pissed off that the New Era guys are coming in and overshadowing him, and I guess taking away his opportunities or whatever. So they've had this build for a couple of weeks where Sheamus jumped on Apollo Crews, and then they've played it where Apollo Crews has kind of been hunting down Sheamus for a little while. So they put this match on Money in the Bank. It was a decent match, I guess. A lot of rest holds. This thing had a lot of chin locks and a lot of headlocks. So it just really didn't... It really just kind of felt stale and just nothing really happening. A kind of, I guess, not really scary moment, but the biggest bump in the match was Sheamus delivered white noise from the second rope, but did not pick up the pinfall and then he got up, argued with the referee that was a 3 count, and Apollo Crews rolled him up and got the victory. So a good way to give Apollo Crews a win without giving Sheamus a clean loss. So maybe they'll build towards them more at Battleground. I guess we'll see where they go with that. Hopefully it means good things for Apollo Crews on the horizon, even if it is to work with Sheamus. Sheamus is not a bad opponent. From what I hear, he works a little stiff. Ask Daniel Bryan about that, and we'll see where they go with this. Hopefully, with the New Era picking up another victory, it's just another push to get the New Era more out there and get some more opportunities for guys like Apollo Crews. Next up, we had the match I think a lot of people were looking forward to, and the start of the last 3 matches, despite the fact they actually put the U.S. title match here later, but we'll get to that. But the 3 matches that people were looking forward to, the first of those 3, John Cena versus AJ Styles. Story here was, in this match, was that AJ out-wrestled Cena from start to finish. Thing to keep in mind, and I think the commentators brought it up, was that Cena had actually just flown in from China, so he was very jet-lagged. You could tell he was very slow. He wasn't the John Cena that we normally see. He was very sluggish, very tired-looking. Matter of fact, he hit the 5-knuckle shuffle by just leaning over to Styles, doing the "you can't see me," and then just falling down with the fist. He didn't do the bounce off the ropes. So it was a very good match. It was a great match, actually. It was main event quality, but you had to deal with the fact that AJ was on the top of his game and Cena looked like he needed a nap. So the story was, like I said, it was that AJ Styles out-wrestled Cena but could never get the pin, and Cena could not find the ways to overcome and do what Cena does and pick up the victory during the big match. Match ended with a referee distraction in that ended that Cena had AJ up for a AA, and AJ somehow got him to lose his footing, bumped into the ref, knocked him out, sent him out of the ring, and while they're laying there after the AA, the club, Gallows and Anderson, come out, hit Cena with a magic killer, pulled AJ back on top, and managed to get out and get out of town and take off running before the ref could see they were out there. AJ picks up the 1, 2, 3, and if anything, it means just AJ Styles got a win over Cena, and it makes it look like AJ didn't send for the club, like he didn't, while the referee was out, get up and say, signal for them to come out of the back and help him. They came out on their own accord, and really AJ probably wouldn't know they were there until he pulled them on top of, until they pulled him on top of Cena. So if anything, it just looks like AJ didn't need Gallows and Anderson to pick up the win. Next up, we had the ladder match for the Money in the Bank contract. We had Cesaro, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Sami Zayn, Alberto Del Rio, and I'm trying to figure out who the sixth was here. We had Jericho, Cesaro, Zayn, Del Rio, KO, and Dean Ambrose. There we go. This match was great. It was a spot match. Lots of going on. Lots of excitement in this match. Lots just happening. It's a typical Money in the Bank match where you try to keep your eye on everybody, but you really can't. There's always somebody that you should be focusing on, and they kind of rotate that in and out. When the match started, everybody went to their respective feuds, except for, of course, for Cesaro and Del Rio, who have no feud, but they had to go to each other because Zayn and KO went to each other. Dean Ambrose and Chris Jericho went after each other, and that just left Cesaro and Del Rio either standing there, or maybe we can go at it too, I guess. So they went at it. Highlight spots in this match. There was a scary spot where Cesaro and Del Rio were on top of a ladder that got tipped over, and it was supposed to be just a no-man land nut shot. And it was where they straddle the top rope and mess up their cash and prizes. So Cesaro hits the spot correctly and just kind of stays on the rope and plays off the hit. Del Rio, on the other hand, landed on the rope, but he didn't hit it right, and he kind of turned into a pile driver and landed on his head and his neck. He reportedly did go to the hospital and is going to be okay. He probably might be out for a week or two, or if maybe they have to go through concussion protocol, he might be out a little longer. We'll have to see. Other kind of crazy spots. We got to see Kevin Owens hit what JBL called the bullfrog splash. I believe he hit that on Ambrose, I believe. Other spots, Zayn and Owens, who, if you've never seen the ladder wars from Ring of Honor between Kevin Steen and El Generico, who, if you don't know, are Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, because they really are lifelong friends. They are best friends. And I wonder if they get to travel together. Probably not, but man, I kind of hope they do, because, like I said, they were in each other. He was in Kevin Owens' wedding and all this stuff. They're really best friends in real life. So there was a spot where Zayn did, I thought it was a Blue Thunder Bomb, but I was apparently not correct on that. And I'm not sure exactly what the move was, but it was some type of slam onto the side of the ladder. Like the ladder was sitting up on its edge. And Sami Zayn slammed Kevin Owens down right onto the spine of the ladder, and he's just kind of draped there with his head on the ground. Kevin Owens can sell better than anybody. So other highlights in this, Cesaro, of course, had an uppercut train, which Kevin Owens jumped in, hit a super kick, and turned that into a cannonball train. And then Sami Zayn came in and turned that into a haluva kick train. Best part was he hit the exploder DDT, or exploder suplex, into over onto Kevin Owens or onto Chris Jericho with Kevin Owens, and then he hit haluva kicks all over the place. This match got exciting in that it was at one point where between the main ladder hanging under the case, they set up two ladders horizontally in what we call the death spot. There's always a death spot in these ladder matches. At WrestleMania 31, Dean Ambrose took the bump. He went through the ladder and never came back into the match. Last year it was Sin Cara. This past year it was Sin Cara. He took it. He came back into the match because he didn't hit it as hard as Ambrose did, but he went through the ladder this time. And then This time they set it up, but nobody ever really went through it. Nobody ever went through a death spot on it. There were a few people got slammed onto it. Kevin Owens power bombed Sami Zayn onto the ladder. I don't think anybody ever went onto the other one. But this match ended with Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose climbing up a respective side of the ladder, and Dean Ambrose pulling on Kevin Owens' shirt and pulling him into the ladder repeatedly until Kevin Owens fell off onto the ladder that was stretched out across the corner. Dean Ambrose climbs up, grabs it, and becomes the new Mr. Money in the Bank. So Dean Ambrose, you're Mr. Money in the Bank for a little while. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Next, we had the U.S. title fight, which timed out perfectly, and that they came to the ring with exactly 4 minutes left in the NBA Finals Game 7. So this match was everybody, whether watching via Wi-Fi or cellular data, watching the end of the game to see who was going to win, Golden State or the Cavaliers. Spoiler alert, unless you're a sports fan, you already know the Cleveland Cavaliers are your NBA Finals champions. I'm excited about that. I'm not really personally a big LeBron fan, but you know what? They came back from 3 games to 1 to win it. That's exciting. That's hella cool. I got to pull for that, I guess if anything, I pull for an underdog, and they were definitely the underdogs because it was the Cleveland Cavaliers versus Steph Curry. And Steph Curry couldn't get the team together to get the game done. And LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers are your champions. But this match between Rusev and Titus O'Neil happened exactly as this match was over, and you could tell it was very clear that the instructions are go until that game is over. If it's 10 minutes or whatever, go until that game is over, because they didn't want to put the main event on the network while Game 7 was coming to an end. They wanted people to watch the end of the game, and then if they were going to break off, go watch the end of the game and then come back for the main event, because they didn't want people to miss what was going to happen come main event. And this is why the show felt long. It felt so long because that was the plan. They wanted to get out of the window where the NBA Finals were going to take away from the viewership of the pay-per-view. And that's exactly what happened. So this match, I was expecting it to be a squash match, and it wasn't. They went for about 8 minutes, and Titus got a lot of offense. There was a really cool spot. When you've got guys that are the size of Titus O'Neil, who I've met, he's massive, and Rusev, who is not too small either, when you've got guys like this, you really just want to watch the big guys just slug it out. And this match started with Rusev going up to Titus O'Neil's kids and playing the heel, and Titus climbing out of the ring on the other corner. They match eyes, and they both round the corner of the ring and come at each other and hit each other with a double clothesline hard, and both of these guys just went up in the air and then down on the mat hard. I honestly thought this match would end with a double count out because that's how hard they hit. But they both get back in the ring. Titus actually hit his finisher on Rusev. I thought for a second that Titus O'Neil was going to actually win this thing, which it would have made sense, because if you remember, Titus O'Neil was awarded the Mega Dad of the Year, or he was awarded some type of father award from a parenting association, because he is a great dad. He's always doing stuff for his kids. He's always doing stuff for charity. He's a good guy. And outside of being a wrestler, he does a lot of stuff for charity. He's just a really good guy. And this match reeked of, hey, sorry that we suspended you for 2 months for a bullshit reason. So here's a run at maybe being at your first title. I did not know this, that Titus O'Neil has never been a champion in WWE. So when you think about it, you've got Titus O'Neil in a championship match on Father's Day. The Father of the Year is in a championship match on Father's Day. You want to think he's going to get it. And I don't understand why WWE felt they could not give it to him. It's the United States Championship. It's not like he was going for the WWE World Heavyweight title. He was going for a secondary title on the show. You could have done like you did with Zack Ryder. You give Zack Ryder the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania so that he gets this big, huge WrestleMania moment, and then the next night you take it off of him. Even if that's how they went with it, there was no reason why Titus O'Neil could not have won this award, could not have won this title last night. But I honestly think that Titus O'Neil would be a great U.S. champion. Rusev doesn't need that title. Rusev will do fine without it. You can do exactly what you're doing with Rusev without him being the U.S. champion. He doesn't need that belt. So, for me, it made no sense for Titus O'Neil to tap out to the accolade in this match because, like I said, he's Mega Dad of the Year. It's Father's Day. His kids are on the front row. Give the man a break. You suspended him for 60 days for a completely bullshit reason. If you don't remember what it was, Titus O'Neil lightly grabbed Vince McMahon's arm during Daniel Bryan's retirement speech because Stephanie was trying to get around him, and he was just trying to tell Vince, hey, watch your six, Stephanie's coming up behind you. Vince shoved him, thinking that Titus was trying to start some shit, and he wasn't. So he gets suspended originally for 90 days, but they cut it back to 60 just to put him out of WrestleMania, where he wouldn't be able to perform at the biggest WrestleMania of the year. So he comes back, and now you've got him in the U.S. title match, which, like I said, it reeked of Vince and Triple H, or maybe just even Vince, because I honestly think that suspension came down from Vince's office, and that was it. Everybody else didn't understand why it was there. So this comes down from Vince, and he says, hey man, look, I'm sorry I suspended you, so look, here's a title fight at Money in the Bank. And, and that was what it was. So hopefully Titus will keep going after this title, because quite honestly, I would like to see Titus O'Neil with the belt, especially with the U.S. title, because you'll get something very similar to the John Cena Open Challenge, in that you'll get something where Titus O'Neil will come out every Monday Night Raw or every SmackDown, wherever he goes on the draft, and he will say, all right, look, essentially, you want some, come get some, and we'll see him defend that title, repeatedly until he loses it. So, quite frankly, I think he got kind of robbed there. I felt like he got an opportunity, and then it just got kind of squashed away from him because, I don't know. Who knows? But Rusev retains the U.S. Championship. And let's talk about our main event. We had Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. This crowd in Vegas was hot, man. They were up there with like a Philadelphia or a Chicago crowd. They were booing Roman Reigns when he was on the Jumbotron. They were huge into Seth. They were really against Roman. This was a smart crowd that is sick of seeing Roman Reigns walking around with that belt. So we get into this match, and here's another thing that just boggles my mind. Smart fans like myself have been wanting Roman Reigns to turn heel for the better part of a year. And in this match, if you tuned into this match without knowing any of the story heading into it, you would have thought that Seth Rollins was the babyface in peril, because Roman essentially ragdolled Seth all over the place. Seth, there was clearly a little bit of ring rust, not too bad though, but he really put that knee to the test, which I don't understand why he did that. You came back from a knee injury early, and you're hoping that your knee is ready to go. Obviously it was, but you're hoping that your knee is ready to go, and sure enough, you're doing flips and dives and all sorts of stuff. He actually did the exact same spot that hurt his knee. So I think that's just kind of a stupid thing to do. It's like, do you really want to go out there and put that knee to the test in your first televised match? Now, he's done some house shows, but this is the first time he's had a match on television. So you got Seth Rollins out there essentially being the babyface in peril. And you've got Roman Reigns arrogantly throwing him around, slapping him, just really playing dirty, telling him, oh, you think you're ready? Looks like you're not ready. All this stuff. He's talking trash to him. He's playing a heel, and man, he looked good. He looked so good playing a heel. So I don't understand. Maybe that's where we're going to go with this. Maybe that's what's going to happen. I can only hope so. because Seth he looked like the babyface in peril. But there was a lot of great spots in this. Roman hit a couple Superman punches. We had a spot again, just like in the AJ Styles and Cena match, where the ref Mike Chioda got knocked, kind of dazed and got knocked out of the ring for a minute, in which Roman hit a spear, but it gave Seth time to get in with the slow count, with not just the slow count, but with the break before he got in there, the clear 1, 2, 3 before the ref got in the ring. So Mike Chioda slides back in, does the slow 1, 2, and Seth kicks out. The cool spot in this is that Seth turned a spear into a pedigree. As Roman is charging at him and he leaps for the spear, Seth just jumps about 6 inches off the ground, catches Roman, and drops him into a pedigree. He goes for the pin, doesn't get it, so what does he do next? He just does another pedigree. Smart wrestling on Seth Rollins' part. He doesn't wait. He doesn't play off I can't believe that wasn't a 3. I can't believe they didn't do it. He just got right back up, hit him again, and this time he picks up the clean victory. Seth Rollins got a clean win over Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank. Clean victory, celebrating that he's the new champion. He's finally got the title that he didn't lose. Roman rolls out of the ring and is doing the typical Roman Reigns pout in front of the announcer's table. They cut to him and he's just sitting there, kind of in the I can't believe I just lost again. The same look of defeat we've seen on Roman's face forever. And then of course, as you probably have heard, Dean Ambrose's music hits. The place turns into an open air arena because the crowd was so loud they blew the roof off that joint. Dean Ambrose comes, Seth is waiting for Dean. He's smiling. He's saying, come on, let's do this. Come on out. I'm ready. And sure, Dean Ambrose isn't coming out. So at first you're thinking, oh, it's a fake out. He's not actually going to come out. He's just going to try to ruin Seth's celebration. And from behind, Seth gets hit with the briefcase. Dean rolls out, hands his briefcase to Mike Chioda, says, I'm cashing this in. Lillian comes back to the mic, says that this is a championship match. Mike Chioda calls for the bell. Dean Ambrose hits Seth Rollins with a Dirty Deeds and pins him in 8 seconds. Dean Ambrose, your new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And for the first time, myself and other smart fans are excited about what's coming tonight on Monday Night Raw. We don't know what's going to happen. Dean Ambrose is the fucking champion. That's what we know. And we don't know what's going to happen with Seth. We don't know what's going to happen with Roman. Obviously, we're building towards the inevitable Shield triple threat for the championship. Because you got to think, on the same night, all 3 members of the Shield were WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And that's exciting. If that doesn't excite you, again, to quote the great puppet, maybe wrestling isn't for you. But that is your Money in the Bank recap. We got Monday Night Raw tonight, so we'll be back either late tonight or tomorrow to talk about Monday Night Raw and the fallout from Money in the Bank and kind of see where things go from there. But that's going to do it for this show. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have not subscribed, you can find the show on multiple platforms. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Or you can find it on Spreaker as well. Wherever you get your podcasts, go on there, subscribe, so you don't have to come looking for the show. The show will come and find you. But that's going to be it for this time, for this show. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Peace.